okay, I'm meditating, but I'm not getting anything, I'm not getting anything. Why is nothing happening? I'm meditating, I'm trying, but I haven't had vision of God. No, then you'll never get anywhere. In meditation, life of meditation also, in Raja Yoga, you have to learn, I will do my practice, but the fruits come from God. I can't demand the fruits now. I can't produce the fruits by my will. That comes from God. Or, in terms of Jnana Yoga, it comes from the higher self. It comes from the higher self. As the Katha Upanishad and Mundaka Upanishad say, that self is realized by him who the self chooses. It's realized by him whom the self chooses. Because the ego, the karta, cannot grab the infinite. The karta has to let go, and the infinite grabs and absorbs the ego, dissolves the ego. It happens from the other side, from God's side, not from our side. So there also, in Bhakti Yoga, in Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, I have to practice Karma Yoga. Give up the fruits of my action. If I think I'm going to meditate and I have to get the fruits of my meditation, I'll never be able to meditate. I have to be able to give up the idea of the fruits of my meditation, and then gradually the mind learns how to go into a deeper state of meditation. So Karma Yoga is the yoga at the base of all of the yogas. No matter what you do, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, it involves Karma Yoga, the non-attachment to the fruits of action. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Perhaps the most famous verse of the Gita that you all have heard many times. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That yours is the right to the action, not to the fruits of action. So that's true in all of the yogas. You have the right to meditate, but not to the fruits of meditation. Those will come when you give up the idea of kartaham, dhyataham. I am the meditator. So, according to the Gita, nahi kaschik shanamapi jatutishtatya karma krit. None of us can be without action even for a moment. That karyate hyavasha karma sarva prakriti jayar gunaihi. No one can be free from action even for a moment. Everyone is forced to act every moment by the gunas of Prakriti. And so all of us, whether we're practicing meditation, worship, prayer, we have to practice Karma Yoga. And if, as Swami Vivekananda said, we should make the whole of life yoga. Every action should be an action of yoga. Every part of our life, our family life, taking care of children, taking care of wife or husband, taking care of our work in the office, being a good citizen, taking care of other people, all of that is the field for Karma Yoga. So if we want to make life itself yoga, then the way to do that is primarily through Karma Yoga. Yes, joined with Bhakti Yoga, joined with Jnana Yoga, joined with Raja Yoga, yes. But the primary way to make life itself yoga, so that everything that I do becomes yoga, is through Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, yogasya pratishtanam. So Karma Yoga is the foundation of all of the yogas. Karma Yoga is the foundation of all of the yogas. So sarvesham sadhakanam karma yogasya prayojanam. Karma Yoga is necessary for the followers of all of the different yogas. And yasya lesha matra kartritva bhava tasya prayojanam. So one who has even the slightest trace of kartaham, for such a one, Karma Yoga is necessary. So now what distinguishes Karma Yoga? Swami Vivekananda spoke of the 4 yogas. In India there are many yogas. Kundalini Yoga, Laya Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Japa Yoga, so many different Shabda Yoga, so many different yogas. But Swami Vivekananda said all of the different yogas come under 4, as you know, Jnana, Bhakti, Raja and Karma. Bhagavad Gita, each of the 18 chapters is a different yoga, including Vishada Yoga. Vishada Yogo Nama Pratamodhyaya. The first chapter, the yoga of sadness, the yoga of being depressed, being upset and unhappy. That also is a yoga. But Swamiji said all of the yogas come under these four headings. The two of them, bhakti and jnana, relate to our way of relating to reality. That is, do I see reality as personal, Bhagavan, or do I see reality as impersonal, the self, Sat, Sat Chit Ananda, Sanmatra, only existence. Then my approach is Jnana Yoga. My approach to reality is impersonal. Or I see reality as personal, Bhagavan, and I want to approach Bhagavan. Then I see it as personal and I follow Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga are the two great yogas that determine how we look on divine reality. Karma Yoga and Raja Yoga don't care how you look on reality. In Raja Yoga you can follow it in impersonal path, or you can follow it as a personal path. Raja Yoga makes a place for Ishvara Pranidhana Dva. Or you can follow Raja Yoga by surrender to God. Ishvara Pranidhana Dva in Raja Yoga, Patanjali says. Or you can follow it by just separating the Purusha from Prakriti, the path of the impersonal path. So Raja Yoga doesn't care how you look on reality. Personal, impersonal, God, self, doesn't matter. Raja Yoga is a technique. Karma Yoga also doesn't care. You can follow Karma Yoga with Jnana Yoga, impersonal or personal. I surrender the fruits of my action to God. That is the Bhakti Yoga way of practicing Karma Yoga. Or I don't act at all. Naham karta, I'm not the doer. The gunas of Prakriti are the doer. Then I practice Karma Yoga from the standpoint of Jnana. So Karma Yoga and Raja Yoga are yogas of technique. They don't care how you look on reality. Whereas Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are based on how we look on reality. So the cause of bondage in Karma Yoga, each yoga has a different way of looking at bondage and liberation, bandhanam and mukti. In Jnana Yoga, bondage is avidya and separation from the self. In Bhakti Yoga, bandhanam, bondage, is forgetfulness of God, separation from God. In Raja Yoga, bondage comes from the ignorance of my identity with the self and my identification with Prakriti. In Karma Yoga, the focus in Karma Yoga is on asakti, attachment. Bondage comes because I'm attached to the fruits of my action. I'm attached to that which I do. But Karma Yoga doesn't say stop doing. It doesn't say along with attachment give up the thing that you're attached to. No, it says do what you're doing, but only learn to do it for a different reason. Learn to do it for a different reason. Learn to give up the attachment to what you're doing. And in that way we practice Karma Yoga. So in Karma Yoga, the cause of bondage is attachment. Of course it comes to the same thing as the other yogas, because attachment comes from what? Attachment comes from the sense of ahanta, aham, that I am separate from everyone else and I want things. And that comes from what? That comes from ignorance. So like in Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, it all comes back to ignorance, all of them. But the focus in Karma Yoga is asakti, attachment. And so the focus in the goal of the Karma Yogi, as Swami Vivekananda says, is freedom, mukti, freedom from attachment, complete freedom, ultimate freedom. Now freedom doesn't mean, in Karma Yoga, it doesn't mean giving up everything and going somewhere else. It means being free in the midst of everything. Being free in the midst of everything. As Swamiji says, and as we see in the life of Holy Mother in particular, one living in the midst of the world, living in the midst of family, in the midst of responsibilities, Who had more difficulties than Holy Mother, Sri Sri Ma? So many difficulties in her life. Her relatives were difficult. The people surrounding her were difficult. People who came to her were difficult. And yet she lived in the midst with perfect non-attachment. And so the ideal of Karma Yoga is freedom in the midst of activity. Freedom in the midst of activity. Swamiji pointed in his Swamiji Shishya Samvad, Conversations with Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, he pointed out to him the image of Sri Krishna in the chariot. And he said that every muscle in Krishna's body is full of action as he's driving the chariot. But in his face is perfect calmness. Face is perfect calmness. Why? Because in the midst of that intense action on the battlefield, Krishna was perfectly unattached. So the goal is freedom. And the field of practice again is all action, whatever type of action. And Swamiji used the example in his Karma Yoga of the Vyadhi, the butcher. The Vyadhi also in the Mahabharata, and the Vyadhi Gita. He, in the midst of his work of being the butcher, that he attained to illumination because of his non-attachment. So now in the remaining few minutes, let me say a few things about principles underlying about Karma Yoga. Swami Vivekananda gave a beautiful definition of karma. He says in Karma Yoga, every mental and physical blow that is given to the soul, by which, as it were, fire is struck from it, and by which its own power and knowledge are discovered, is karma. This word karma being used in its widest sense. That's an extremely important definition. Very difficult to understand as you just hear me telling it. It's something you need to read and read over and over and over again. Read it over and over. Every mental and physical blow that is given to the soul, that is, every mental and physical action, which is like a blow. Like if you, the old way of starting fire, you strike a flint, the stone. I don't remember what you call it in Sanskritic languages like Marathi and Hindi, but if you strike the flint, the sparks come out, and then you start the fire. And so the soul is like the flint, and action is like the striking. So what strikes the fire from the soul, every action that strikes fire from the soul is a blow that strikes fire from the soul. That is karma. And by which its own power and knowledge are discovered is karma. So through action, action has the power.